Riding the Waves。はい。というわけで今回は、Still and Moving Centerで12月の11日から、3回にわたって行われる、冬のクリエイティビティワークショップ The Artist Way について、このワークショップをホストしているサラ・ホッジズさんが今日はゲストです。So thank you so much, Sara, for taking time out of your busy schedule to, be on this podcast
today.Thank you, Sachiko. Nice to be here.
Yeah, thank you. And Sara kindly wrote the story about me a while back, and now it's my turn to interview you. Yeah. How cool is that, right? Like we interview each other. But anyway, so today I'd like to ask you about the Artist Way. So this winter creativity workshop you'll be hosting online for over 12 weeks.Starting on December 11th, and I already signed up because I'm so curious about this workshop and it sounds amazing. But so originally, how did you find out about this Artist Way?
Well, I first found out about it must have been 2013 when I was studying painting in Florence, Italy.And one of the girls from Austria, a friend of mine, she mentioned this journaling every morning for creativity and this Julia Cameron Artist Way. So I looked it up and I thought it'd be something good to do. And I tried it and I did maybe 3 days of it. And that was it. I did not have any retention to keep it going. I had other things happening. I wanted to move in the morning and not write. And so that was the first time. And then about maybe 6 months ago, a good friend of mine in LA, he put on an Artist Way group. And I saw he was putting that on. And so I signed up. And it was wonderful just to have the support of people. It kept me going. And the first time I tried, I mean, it was not successful at all. And the second time, I went through the whole thing. And so I realized just the support of having people doing it together.It made a big difference. It helps to get through a long process. And sometimes you go through the blocks. And I think that's part of it is facing your inner blocks. And so having others that are moving forward and they're not getting blocked at the same time you are, you can see that and get encouragement and keep going.
Wow. Yeah, because this is something I was going to ask anyway, like, can we do it alone or like, does it have to be in group? But makes sense because the first time you fail, right?
Yeah, some people can do it alone. I think it depends on your personality. It depends on the timing. For me at that time and my personality, it was not something I wanted to do alone. And I had so much more fun doing things as a group in general. So, but you can definitely do it solo at your own timing. Really the only thing you need is the book because the book will guide you through all the different steps. I have the book right here. You can see. This is one, the cover will look different in different versions. They're all just different editions of the same thing. And the book guides through the entire process, the multi-step process.
Okay. はい。ということでですね、まずはこのワークショップについて、ワークショップっていうか、これは本がベースになってるんですけども、どうやって初めて知ったんですかって伺ったら、サラさんは2013年の時に、イタリアにね、絵画のお勉強で暮らしていたんですけれども、その時にオーストリアからのお友達に、すごく朝毎日ジュリアン・キャメロンさんっていう本の、本を参考にして、毎日日記を朝書いていて、すごくなんかいい感じなのよって聞いたので、じゃあ私もやってみようかなと思ったそうなんですね。で、それで試したんだけど、3日しか続かなかったそうなんです。で、1回目はちょっと自分一人でやってたので、それでうまく続かなかったんですけど、実は半年前にロサンゼルスで、このアーティストウェイっていう、これをみんなで一緒にやろうってグループをね、やってる人に出会って、で、それに参加したらそれが素晴らしかったと。それで、12週間ね、かけてやるプログラムなので、すごく時間はかかるんですけれども、やっぱりグループでやった方が、もちろんこれも性格にもよりますけども、みんなからサポートしてもらったりだとかして、応援し合ったりとかして、こういうのもいいよみたいな教え合ったりすることもできるので、すごくサラさんにとっては良かったということで、今回このグループという形でこのアーティストウェイをやっていくんですけれどもね。で、このアーティストウェイというね、本がベースになってるんですけれども、これは本を読まなくてはいけないんですかね。それは必要ないんでしょうかね。So do we have to read this book in order to, try this program, or are you going to be guiding us?
In this workshop, I'll be guiding. So you don't technically have to read the book. it's written in a way that there's bullet notes, there's different sections. So it's not reading like a regular book that you would go through, but it's a guidance. And I'll also be giving all the different cues and guidance. So, and that will be through a WhatsApp chat. So we'll have a chat room that our meeting is only 3 times in the whole series of 12 weeks. And in the WhatsApp chat, we'll have the daily check-in. So after your 3 pages, if it's not in the morning, it can be any time of day. It's called morning pages, but for some people, the evening works better. For me, I prefer to write in the evening, and that's what works. And so when you're done, you do a little check mark in the text, and that's it. And each week I'll bring up the theme. So some of the examples, week 1 is recovering a sense of safety, and there's certain things that go with that. Week 2, recovering a sense of identity, recovering a sense of power, all the way down to week 12, recovering a sense of faith. So these are all the guidelines of what really we'll be thinking about in the week. And then we'll have the daily morning pages. And at the end of each week, or during the week, really, by the end of each week, during that week, you will have done an artist date, which is a time. And this was something really beautiful that I enjoyed about this process, because it was a time specifically that you would think out to have this date with yourself. And often people like plan a special date with somebody and make it all special, but you get to have that with yourself.
That's interesting.
I like having that sense. For me, that was a lot of fun to get creative and maybe go to the museum or do really anything. There's a lot of variety, and people get to share about what they did and how they felt. So
wow, interesting. Like to take yourself out on a date. It's something that we don't normally do.
Right.
はい。ということで、こちらのアーティストウェイっていうのは、本なんですけども、でも必ずしもこの本を読む必要はなくって、サラさんがこのガイドしてくださるってことなんですね。で、今回グループでやるので、12週間全部でかかるんですけども、その中で3回だけね、月に1回ずつみんなでオンラインでお話をしたりとか、こういうテーマを今度やりますみたいなこの話をしてて、で、WhatsAppでっていう皆さんといろいろチャットできるようなアプリで進行を見ていくっていうのもやるんですけども、あと朝に必ず日記を書く習慣をつけなくちゃいけなくて、それがモーニングページズっていうんですけれども、でこれも別に朝でなくても構わないということなんですね。サラさんの場合は朝よりも夜の方がいろいろとアイデアも湧いてくるので、夜に書いているということなので、朝昼夜関係ないみたいです。自分が一番いい時に書けばいいということらしいんですね。で書く内容だとかやっていく内容っていうのが毎週いろいろ違うので、それをみんなで一緒にねこなしていくんですけれども、週によってテーマが違うんですね。一番最初にセーフティーっていう安全とか、あとアイデンティティとか、あとパワーとかいろいろ内容が違うんですけど、で最後には信仰だとかっていうことでいろいろとそれに沿った内容をみんなで話し合ったりとかやっていくっていうことだそうです。で、あともう一つはアーティストデートっていうのがあるんですけど、これは自分自身をデートに連れて行こうっていうことで、例えばミュージアムに行くのでもいいですし、何か自分のために自分を喜ばせるための何かをやろうっていうプログラムなんですね。で、それも1週間に1回どっかに行くとかっていうのをやっていくってことで、トータル12週間ということなんですけど、これなんで12週間なんですかね。So, is it set like it's 12 weeks? Like we need this time, like 12 weeks.
Yeah, sorry, there's a fly flying here. It is, and I'm really happy to see everyone who has signed up, because it can be very overwhelming to see, oh my gosh, I'm gonna commit to this 12 weeks. I don't even know what's gonna be happening in my life. It is 12 weeks, and it's something that you can do. You can definitely do. It's little, it's a little thing to write 3 pages. The part that makes it very possible is that you're not trying to write these perfect pages of prose or poetry or anything. It's completely stream of consciousness. So whatever is in your head, you just let it come out in the pen and get it done. And it's possible you miss a day. It's okay. This is, things happen, but the goal is to do the every day 3 pages. And see how it is.
Doesn't have to be grammatically incorrect or nothing.
Doesn't have to be complete sentences. You might not even be able to read it well. You might just be writing fast or something.
Yes.
And through the first half of it, you're also not allowed to read it. So you write what you write, you can't read it. Just turn the page. That's yesterday. And then there will be a guidance at some point in the end of the workshop where you get to read back on things.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
How did you change before and after?
I think there's subtle changes. It's not like I'm a different person or anything like that. But one thing that was actually something significant was that I always wanted to write. And it's not for only writers, but for me, I wanted to write. I liked writing and I wanted to write for a publication, just something to kind of prove to myself that I could. And I didn't know how, I didn't know if I could. I kind of didn't think that I could or that the opportunity was there. During the middle of this workshop that I was doing, of the 12 weeks, I had a friend call me from nothing and say, hey, there's this job to write about art, to write about classical art, which is what I studied.
Right.
You want to write? And I, of course, said yes. It was intimidating. It was something new that I hadn't done, but I also felt really capable, having gone through all this, where I know I can just get myself to put words down. And so that I did that, and I continue to write for a couple different publications. So that was a big change, this being able to say yes to an opportunity that might have really felt like a lot before that. And having the opportunity even come was really interesting timing.
Right. Yeah. So maybe this artist way really like enhance like your energy and
maybe.
You know, yeah. I mean, you never know, right?
Because something out there.
Yeah.
And in other ways, I did feel like I could hear myself a little better by the end, just what was going on inside. I had gotten to spend, it took me about 40 minutes every day, sometimes less, sometimes more, and just getting to spend that time with what was inside of me, what I was thinking. So it brought that on too.
That's a big change.
It's a big change.
It is a big change. Yeah. Yeah.
I think things ripple from that we can't always see that it's a direct cause, but things definitely have a ripple effect and change from that.
Right.
In a really positive way. We need to be able to hear ourselves.
Yes. ということでね、例えば、サラさんにとってはどんな、ね、変化がありましたかって聞いたんですけれども、この12週間やって、それで毎日その、モーニングページズっていうのは3ページ日記に書いていくって、宿題が出るんですけど、本当に何を書いてもいいんですね。本当にこうセンテンスにちゃんとなってなくてもいいし、グラマー的に間違ってても何でもいいので、3ページとにかく自分の意識にあることを書き出していくっていうことで、しかもそれ書いてるときはこれ読み返しちゃいけないんだそうです。それで全部の12週間が終わった時点でみんなでこう読み返すっていう、機会はあるんですけども、基本的にはその書いたものをすぐに読み返したりとかしちゃいけないっていう、ガイダンスがあるそうなんですね。で、後で振り返るとこんなことを思ってたんだっていうのがもう分かってくるそうなんですけど、サラさんの場合はこれをやってみる前とそのやった後ではいろいろとやっぱり変化があったということで、この12週間のプログラムをやってる間に、自分はすごい何かを執筆活動というか、書く仕事がしたかったそうなんですね。で、それがでもどういうふうにやっていいのかわからなくって、で、このワークショップをやっていたわけなんですけど、そしたら、この願いが叶ったというか、ちょうどワークショップをやってる間に、そのクラシカルアート、彼女はそういうクラシカルアートの勉強されてるんですけど、画家としてね。で、そのクラシカルアートについて、こういう雑誌で記事を書きませんかっていうお話がいきなりどこともなくどこから来たのかなみたいな感じでいきなり来たそうなんです。だからそういうやっぱり不思議な機会だとかチャンスっていうのがね、やっぱりこういうことをやることで巡ってくるのかもしれないっていうねふうにおっしゃってるんですよね。あとこのグループでのセラピーをやってみて、 自分の気持ちがすごくよく以前よりも聞けるようになったっていうふうにおっしゃってます。で1日45分間、自分とこうやって向き合っていろいろこう、テーマに沿ってやっていくんですけども、すごくポジティブな変化ができたし、自分が何考えてるのかなとか、自分自身とこうすごく自分の声を聞くことができるようになったということなんで、本当に大きな、ね、変化があるんですよね。So this is a sort of therapy too, right? Like this is open for pretty much anybody. It doesn't have to be an artist. Like can be for everybody.
Right, it is. It's anybody who can use a pen and write for absolutely everybody. Yeah. And there is an artist in everybody. I think that there's creativity and an artist in absolutely everybody.
Yeah, but the thing is, you're a dancer, musician, writer, lomi therapist, and like painter, obviously, and you do so many things. Like you wear so many hats, and you're like the artist, like yeah. But so how did that all begin for you?
It's funny because it's like I do a lot of these things, and I never really think of myself as an artist in that sense of like doing these things. In the sense that we're all artists, yes, but in the sense of being
but
like
you're
an outward artist, I don't. I think well, I do these things, and it just kind of happened. I always loved painting or drawing as a really young child, and my grandfather, he lives in Hawaii. He's still here. He is a painter by profession. He taught for many years at Windward Community College, their painting program. And so he definitely influenced us, my sister and I, at a very young age. He gave us watercolors. He would take us on these watercolor days, outings to Ala Moana Beach Park. We would be like 6 years old, 7 years old, painting with him at Ala Moana Beach Park.
Oh, wow.
So that was very present in my early life. And I took to it more probably around, I think I was around age 12. I fell in love with horses at age 10 and started riding. My dad went away on a business trip and he brought me back this How to Draw Horses book. And if I couldn't be around the horses, I only wanted to draw them. And that's actually where it started. All summer, one summer, I didn't move from the living room floor. I was just drawing
horses.
Trying to draw them really well.
Wow.
That's where it began, and it was encouraged, and it became a space of meditation for me also, that I could go quiet and concentrated but quiet inside. And it was a really peaceful space for me for a long time.
Yeah. That is interesting that you never thought of yourself as an artist and then you do so many artistic things. That is quite interesting. Yeah.
I don't know why.
いやね、本当に今サラさんがアーティストでなくても本当にどんな人にでもねすごく効果があるセラピーだと思いますよということでこのワークショップをお勧めしてくださったんですけど、アーティストっていうのは誰にでもね多分存在する部分なんじゃないかなっておっしゃってたんですけど、でももう本当にアーティストといえばサラさんみたいな感じで本当に絵も描くしダンサーだしミュージシャンだしライターだしロミロミセラピストもやってるし、なんかこういろんなクリエイティブなことを彼女されてるんですけど、でも実は本人は自分をアーティストだと思ってたことがほぼないそうなんですね。それってなんか面白いなと思いますけど、自分は本当にこう、ちっちゃい頃から絵を描くのが大好きだったんですけど、実はおじいさんがとても有名な画家の人でウィンワードコミュニティカレッジっていうところで絵をね教えたりとかもしている方でホノルルの、ね、方なんですけど、でだから小さい頃からそのおじいちゃんの影響もやっぱり強くってこうワラモアナビーチパークとかに行ってこう自分の兄弟と一緒に絵を描いたりとかね、なんかそういうことをしながら育ってきたので、確かにおじいちゃんの影響とかあるということなんですけども、でも12歳の時に実は彼女初めて乗馬の体験をして、で馬がとにかく大好きになったんですね。でその馬に乗れない時にこう馬のことを少しでも想像していたいみたいな感じになってしまって、それで馬の絵を描く本をプレゼントしてもらって、でそれで馬の絵をもうひたすらなんか描いていたそうなんです。でそれでなんかこう自分にとってそれがこう瞑想的というか本当に静けさの中で でこう集中してこう平和な気分になれるし、それですごく絵が好きになっていったということだったんですけれどもね。でもやっぱりおじいさんの、影響もあったということなんですが、で絵を勉強するためにニューヨークとか、イタリアとかもね、美術学校にも通ったということなんですけどもね、それについてもちょっとお伺いしたいんですけども、So you did end up really loving the art, right? Like to express yourself through painting, and you went on to study in New York and Italy. And how was that for you? How was that experience living outside of Hawaii?
I was really excited to leave Hawaii at age 18. I had felt like I had seen a lot here and knew it very well. And so first I went to Philadelphia. I went to the Pennsylvania Academy of Fine Arts, and it was a big culture shock. I moved alone. I didn't really know anyone.
Yeah.
I was very curious about everything, just to learn and take in the culture of the East Coast. And
Yes.
the art school was really wonderful. I also was salsa dancing at the time. And so I would go to art school in the daytime and then go dance in the evening in a Latin dance company and train and then perform on the weekends. So
Wow.
I definitely found a way to keep the different passions that I had alive during that time. Ultimately, my dream was to live in New York City from Hawaii. My sister was going to school there at the time, and I had visited her and I loved the city. So after the first year, I moved to New York and went to a very rigorous school there. Also put a lot on my plate. So I was going to art school in the daytime and then taking university classes at night and still salsa dancing. So always tried to do everything.
Right.
But the training was really wonderful. I specifically chose schools that were very much about classical art and learning how to really draw versus just expressing yourself, which was good for learning the actual technique, but it actually became a little bit, it just felt a little bit dry after a while because there was no sense of expression or finding your own voice as an artist. It was all about the technique. So then there was some challenges with that.
Yeah.
But there were moments, I remember one moment in class, and at the time I was starting to do some meditation also. From end of high school, I was starting to do some meditation. And in New York, I found a Buddhist meditation center that I was going to. So I had a little bit of sense of this spirituality, but not a big sense. It was more like a inner quiet and connecting with something bigger. And I remember one drawing class in particular, and it's very classical, so it's very structured. It was about light and how light falls on a form. And I felt like something else was being talked about, and they were talking about light on things, and I left that class feeling high, feeling like and still to this day I think about what was I learning in that class. So I think in some way I got something different sometimes out of the art that was being taught.
Yeah.
And I really fell in love with the fact that teaching someone to draw is teaching you also how to see, and how to see not just what something is, like the thing we define it as, looking at a face, this is two eyes, a nose. It's seeing beyond that, beyond the definitions. And so I guess in a way, seeing with open eyes, seeing with open concepts, so there's no concept formed yet. And there's just so much freedom in that. I still get excited about that. Kind of going beyond our day-to-day structure of thinking. Learning to paint and draw was something of that for me too.
Yeah. Did you become intuitive a little bit during that time?
I think from a childhood, there was
you were a little bit like that.
A little bit weird. And it increased during that time. Yeah. Things got a little more weird.
Interesting. いやね、今、サラさんはね、なんかニューヨークとかイタリアの美術学校に通ってたということなんです けどもね、その話を教えていただいたんですけど、最初は18歳までハワイにいて、もうハワイはもう十分いろいろ知り尽くしたから、もう本当にどっかに行きたいっていうね、気持ちで、最初フィラデルフィアに行ったそうなんです。で、ペンシルバニアのアートスクールに通ったそうなんですけど、その時はやっぱりかなりのカルチャーショックで、なんかこう、イーストコーストのね、今までと全然違うライフスタイルでかなりね、本当にびっくりしたこともいっぱいあったそうなんですけど、一人ぼっちだったのでね。で、夜にサルサダンスの勉強をするようになって、で、ラテンダンスとかも、すごくハマって、その時期に。で、週末はなんかパフォーマンスもしてたそうで、その当時からいろんなことを試すのが好きだったそうなんですけども、それで、でもis it your older sister or younger sister?
Older sister.
older sister、お姉さんが、ニューヨークに住んでいたので、なんかニューヨークに行きたいなとは思ってたそうなんですけれども、それでその1年後にニューヨークに引っ越したそうなんですね。で、そこのアートスクールに通って、で、サルサも続けていて、みたいな感じだったそうなんですけども、でもクラシカルアートの勉強をしているうちに、テクニックだとか、いろいろやっているうちに、なんかすごく自分の中でつまずくというか、チャレンジングなこともね、出てきたということなんですが、で、実はもう高校生の終わりぐらいから彼女は瞑想を始めていたらしいんですね。それで、ニューヨークに行った時にすごくいいメディテーションセンターがあって、で、そこでメディテーションをやるようになって、結構スピリチュアルなね、お子さんだったということなんですけども、で、学校のクラスの中で光についてお話をしていたそうなんです。で、光が形を作っていくみたいな、なんかたまたまその話をしていたんですけども、その時に別に何にもしてないのになんかすごい、気分がすごくハイになって、で、なんか自分が一つのものを見るんじゃなくて、なんかもっと奥深い何かが見えるようになったというか、なんかすごい体験をしたそうなんですね。で、だから絵を教えるっていうことは、もう単に絵の描き方とかテクニックを教えるということではなくて、一つのものをもっと違う目で見るとか、もっと深いところから理解するっていうことをその時にすごく学べて、で、なんか自分がすごくオープンになったって、すごくなんか自由をその時に学校でも手に入れたということだったんですけれどもね。And then you went on to go to Italy, right? How was that?
So I went to study for a summer there during my time after New York.
Mhm.
I loved it so much. Also the city of Florence and the friends that I had made in the summer program. It was a painting program that I applied really after they even didn't accept applications, but they had seen my work. And I applied right before the next term. They said, okay, you can come. And I think I went back to New York, packed all my things, and moved to Florence.
Oh, wow.
And it was really fortunate to have that opportunity to be able to just move that way. I loved the city. I still go back as often as I can to Italy. And it was also a very rigorous art program, and rigorous in the sense that we were learning very traditional techniques. It's something called sight size. So you're measuring from a master drawing to your canvas or paper, exactly almost like photocopy. So you're basically exact measurements, everything shading perfect. And we would spend maybe 6 months on a drawing.
Wow.
A long time. It was really challenging. For that reason, to be also, I was someone who was so used to being active and moving around still, even when I was in school, that I went through a depression after that. So I spent maybe the first 6 months were great, but slowly also as winter came and it got very cold and everything just started to feel like it was closing in. And that was actually a big transition point. And also what we were talking about, this intuitive thing and these different things happening, I was starting to just have weird experiences, sometimes hearing something, but hearing something and then it would happen. And so these very, very interesting things that at the time I didn't know how to deal with. It just felt really overwhelming, combined with really trying to pursue this art education. And I really didn't want to quit, but something else inside of me was just saying, stop, I need to just stop. And I fought that. I didn't listen at all. And I fought it until my body just wouldn't keep going. So at a certain point, I wasn't getting out of bed. I was just like my energy inside had just stopped. And it was just done. I couldn't mentally make myself. It was just no more energy inside. So I mean, now I know to listen to things, because if you don't, your body will make you.
Right.
Make you stop. At that point, that's when I moved back to Hawaii. Still loved Italy, still love it. But it was time to stop and look inside and see, okay, what is really happening? And there was healing. There was healing that was needed. Were traumas as a child that I hadn't faced. And all the time, I think that all the time in silence in these studios, concentrating on these master drawings, there was so much time inwards that all of that like unfaced trauma was coming up, along with other things. And it really felt like, okay, it's time to heal.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
and that's when I found Lomi Lomi. So
いやということで、そのニューヨークから今度はこうフィレンツェにね、行くことになったんですけれども、夏にね、ニューヨークの学校でいろいろと出会った仲間と一緒にこうフィレンツェで絵の勉強をしたいということで応募したら彼女の作品を見てくれたら、どうぞいいですよって言ってくれて、それでもうすぐにね自分の荷物まとめてイタリアに行ったということなんですけども、本当に素敵なね、本当に街ですし、すごいね刺激を受けたんですが、ただすごくこのトラディショナルなこうやり方でこう師匠がいて、そこからもうほぼフォトコピーのような全く同じような絵をキャンバスに写さなくちゃいけないっていう、もう本当にこう禅のトレーニングみたいななんかこうクラスをもうずっと6ヶ月ぐらい続けているんですね。でそれまではすごく彼女アクティブだったのに、なんかそのレッスンをずっとひたすら続けていることで、なんかこう自分とこう向き合わなくちゃいけない感じになってしまって、実は鬱になってしまったそうなんです。それで冬が来たってこともあって、ヨーロッパですごくね、冬ってこう長くてすごく寒かったりとか、雲もね本当に雲だらけだったりとかして、すごく落ち込んでしまって、もうベッドからも出れない状態になって、もうとにかく何かがもうとにかく今ちょっとやめなさいって言ってるような気がしたんだけど、自分はなかなかやめなかったそうなんですね。でもうとにかくエネルギーもなくなってしまって、もう本当に人生の中でも本当にこうなんか自分の持っていたこうトラウマとかがうわーって出てきて、でそれにちゃんとこう自分がついていけない状態がこのイタリアにいた時代にこうわーって出てきてしまったそうなんです。でやっぱりこう自分の心を聞いてあげないと、体がそうやってね、なんかこう反応してしてしまうものなんだなっていうことをその時にすごく感じたそうなんですけど、やっぱり心と体がつながっているってことなんですよね。で、その時に自分が何を見つけたかというと、そのハワイのロミロミだったんですね。このハワイのヒーリングが彼女を助けてくれたということなんですけれども、So how did Lomi Lomi heal you? Like you found about Lomi Lomi in Italy? Or I mean, it's something you already obviously knew, right?
It's something I knew about, and I didn't go back to Hawaii to receive Lomi Lomi. It was something that I went back to Hawaii knowing that I needed something. I needed I didn't know what at all, but something. I didn't know who. My family, in a way, it was very very academic, so kind of like the traditional way. So I didn't know who to turn to for healing. What is this healing even?
Yes.
And I didn't feel like psychiatrists, psychologists. I just didn't feel that I mean, it does work, but I didn't feel like that was the answer for my case, my feeling. And it was actually at Still and Moving before this happened. I'll go back. So I had ended up hearing about from this friend, this Hawaiian healer.
Yes.
Uncle Alva. I heard of it from, I think I overheard a conversation. I didn't even hear them. So I overheard it. And then maybe 1 week later, I was in the West African dance class in Still and Moving Center. We were stretching after class, and I overhear again these girls talking, and they say, this amazing healing, Uncle Alva. And I'm just like, okay, what is it?
Yeah.
I asked one of the girls about where he was and that kind of thing, and she didn't know. She had heard about him from somebody.
Yeah.
So I couldn't. And I looked it up online, nothing. I couldn't find anything, of course. And maybe 3 months later, a good friend of mine was talking again, and she said Uncle Abba, this name, and his healing work. And she knew somebody who had his contact number. So I asked her, and I really made sure that she could get this number for me. And she did. And so I called their number, and I called his number and made an appointment. And was very excited. So I made this appointment. I was still feeling very depressed. I was really down and not feeling myself at all. It's just the energy was really low.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I was still trying to pursue painting. So in Waimanalo, in this certain area, there's a section of, what do you call it? Like warehouses that have been turned into studios. And so separate from the other story, with a good friend of mine who's a sculptor, the two of us decided we're going to go in on this studio, and I'll have a painting on half of it and she'll have sculpture on the other half. So the day before I have my appointment with this Uncle Alva that I didn't know who this would be, I drive to visit this warehouse area and then this section where there's art studios in Waimanalo. And we drive down to the path and check the art studios out, and it looks really nice. And then the next day I'm driving to my appointment, and I have the address on this little paper. And I'm driving and I think, I know this street. I was just here yesterday. I think, okay, it's on the same street. This is really weird. But it was literally right in front of the artist spaces.
Oh my God.
The day before, when I had gone to see the studios, I had seen this little building and this area, this beautiful front area with a tree. I saw people in front, and I didn't know what it was at the time. And something about them, I thought, these people look really cool. I want to know who these people are. Something about their interaction that was just so interesting, and it just made me feel really good to see that. So it was really crazy that I ended up there the next day and got to walk into that building and meet the people.
That is crazy.
Yeah, weird coincidence. And so I received that first treatment. After the treatment, he told me to rest. He told me to drink lots of water. He also told me he was about to start the next training session for students. And he invited me to come just as a guest for that first class. He said, come, you'll meet your brothers and sisters there. And it was the following Monday, I think, that the class was. And so, of course, I was going to go. I really wanted to be around him because he was someone that you really felt something from. It's hard to put to words, but felt this resonance, this groundedness, kind of a sense of spirit in him. And I left that session. I went home. It was the middle of the day. I slept probably 5 hours. And when I woke up, I felt life inside myself. And I hadn't felt that probably in a year. So there was something really powerful about it, I can truly say.
So everything connected, like everything was all lined up and waiting for you, right?
It did.
Yeah.
Somehow looking for this art space connected to finding the healing that was needed.
That really was your destiny. Yeah. いや、すごい面白い話なんですけども、そのイタリアからね、それでハワイに、戻ってきたわけなんですね。そこ自分もすごく鬱だったので、もうちょっとイタリアにいても、なんかこううまくいかないかなと思って、それでハワイに戻ってきたんですけど、それで、Still and Moving Centerとここでつながるわけなんですね。それで、サイコセラピストにこうね、カウンセリング行くとか、心理学のね、方で、セラピー受けるのもありだと思って、もちろんそれが効果ある人もいるんですけど、私にはちょっとなんか違うなと思ってたそうなんですね。で、それでStill and Moving Centerでウエストアフリカンダンスとかのクラスを彼女が取るようになるんですけども、で、そこで、なんかその他の一緒にね、クラスを受けてる生徒さんとかが、アンクルアワーって知ってるみたいな話で、なんかこのアンクルアワーの話は、その以前にも聞いたことがあったんですけども、Still and Moving Centerでもそのアンクルアワーの話が出てきて、あれこれまたなんか彼の名前聞いたなと思ってて、で、なんかもっともっと知りたいな、なんか気になるなと思ったらしくって、で、そしたら3ヶ月後ぐらいに、そのアンクルアワーの連絡先を持っている生徒さんが現れたそうなんですね。それで、じゃあもうすぐに連絡してみよう ようと思って、その連絡して予約を入れたんです。で、その予約を入れたんですけども、その予約を入れたちょっと数日前に、またこれは別件なんですけども、ワイマナロの方に、いろんなアートスタジオとかがある場所があるんですね。その倉庫を、スタジオにして、結構アーティストが集まってるエリアがあるんですけども、そこに、たまたま、自分の知ってる人を訪ねて、行った時に、なんか車で通っていったら、なんか、そこのそばに、すごい素敵な感じの人たちがバーっていて、この人たちと仲間になりたいなと、この人たちのことをもっと知りたいなって、不思議となんとなく思ったそうなんです。で、その次の日、その数日後に、ロミロミの予約があったんですけど、で、そしたら、なんとこれなんかどこかで、なんかすごいこの間行ったスタジオのエリアとすごい似てる、住所だなと思ったら、そこがなんと目の前だったそうなんですね。その、ロミロミの先生のお家がなんと目の前だったということで、で、トリートメントを受けて、それで、とにかく休みなさい、水をたくさん飲んでねって言われて、で、実は僕トレーニングを始めるんだってことで、きっと、すごい素晴らしい仲間に会えると思うから、おいでよって言われて、もうその次の週の月曜日からそのトレーニングは始まったということで、そしたらそこにいた、こういう人たちと知り合いたいなと思った仲間がまさにそこにいたということで、そのね、なんかすべてプランされていたように、彼女のロミロミセラピストとしてのなんかデビューがね、もうプランされていたって感じだったんですけども、それで、そのアンクルアバさんから、ロミロミを勉強して、ロミロミのセラピストとしてもね、いろいろと活躍されるようになったということなんですよね。Yeah. So, and then as a therapist, like you started providing a lot of like treatments to other people too, right? Like you started to heal other people too, instead of originally you did it for maybe your healing, sake of it, but and then you went to.
Yeah, then I ended up, well, I went through the course, so I stayed and did the year and a half and then a little bit of apprenticeship. And I didn't plan on doing it for other people, really. Maybe my family, because I always loved massaging family and just helping people if they have a sore back or head. So I didn't plan on that, but people started to ask. And of course, I said yes. So I would say I just helped facilitate people's own healing because they're really reaching that healing in themselves. I'm not doing it, but I started in Hawaii. I ended up working on people here and then working on a TV show that was filming in Hawaii, helping people that were really tired and sore from many days of filming.
Yeah.
And then the producer called me when he went back to LA and said, there's a lot of people here that are actually still wanting massage and they didn't get to in Hawaii. And it was so fortunate to get that call. At the time, I had been thinking of leaving Hawaii. It just felt like a time that I needed a transition. I was thinking of either Portland or California. And these are the two places that were resonating for me. I'm not sure exactly why you're in California because I don't know what I would have done there. Portland, I knew some people there.
Yeah.
And I remember one time I was running and then I went to this Kapilani Park. And I was stretching, and all of a sudden I had this vision that I'm in LA. This is before the call. I was thinking, okay, this is weird.
Yeah.
And it was probably a couple weeks later that he called with this offer that I never would have guessed even that they still remembered who I was once they left.
Wow. Wow. You truly have a gift like that, right? Maybe like, something comes to you, maybe in your dreams or like in consciousness, like, something happens and it really happens.
So of course I said yes. And he, with his help, I had a whole lineup of months of clients. And I went to LA with this already a full schedule and all the contacts. I didn't know who most of them were because they were people that knew people connected to him. And I had a good friend from Hawaii who I'd known since I was 5 years old. She was living there. So I stayed with her in her room. We really stayed simple. I went and bought a massage table, rented a car, and I just did it.
Wow.
And for me, doing massage is so healing for me too. And it just feels right. It's one of those things that it feels like so natural for how I connect in the world and how I am to just be in a space of rest, of peace, of healing. Not that that's my nature to always be healing.
Yeah.
But just to be aiming for that. That I always like to see that. I see even the time living in New York, just how our common way of doing things seems so agitated. We're just always moving and always doing, and the mind is always active, and there aren't enough opportunities. I think maybe now that's changing as yoga has become more popular and meditation has, but for a long time that wasn't that popular, or at least what I was exposed to is you go to school, you work as hard as you can, you don't stop, and that was what was celebrated. So to just be able to celebrate being in a pause, being in a place where you can just pause, be with your breath, be with your body. And I think that's where the natural healing happens.
Yeah.
We can just slow, be with the body, and then have time to move, but have both dynamics.
Right. ということで、ロミロミは、1年間半ね、かけて、勉強されたということなんですが、そもそも、家族にやってあげてもいいかなと思ってたんですけど、マッサージセラピストになろうとはあまり思ってなかったそうなんですね。それで、自分が勉強するためと思ってそもそもやったんですけども、でもそのうちにやってってやっぱり言われるようになって、でもちろん、やりますよつって、なんかイエスって言って、で、いろんな人にやるようになったということなんですね。で、ハワイでは、すごい、少しずつとやってマッサージを始めたんですけど、そのうち、ハワイで撮影している、アメリカのテレビ番組のね、スタッフの人とかから、お声がかかるようになって、で、テレビ番組で、例えば、俳優さんとかもね、俳優さんとか関係者とかに、ロミロミをやるようになったんですけど、やっぱりすごく評判が良くって、それで、その撮影が終わって、皆さんがこうロサンゼルスに帰るって時になって、で、すごくね、こうみんながまだ、サラさんからマッサージ受けたいっていう人がいっぱいいるから、ロサンゼルスに来てくれないかって、その監督さんにお願いされたそうなんです。で、ポートランドとかカリフォルニアとかだったらなんか住んでもいいかなって、ちょうど思ってた時だったということなので、なんかこうカリフォルニアにね、行ってみようって思って、それで LA にも行ったそうなんです。で、不思議だったことは、彼女がちょっとカピオラニ公園でこうランニングをしていたときに、なぜかこうふっとなんか不思議な感覚になって自分が LA にいるような気分になったそうなんです。それで、なんか不思議だなって思ったそうなんですけど、本当にその感覚になった2、3週間後に、その監督さんから電話かかってきて、LA に来ませんかって言われたそうなので、なんか本当サラはそういうなんかギフトというかね、なんかこういう直感が鋭いというか、なんかそういうのもあるんでしょうね。で、それで5歳からのお友達の、ハワイからね、ずっといたお友達のお家にもう転がり込んで、で、マッサージのベッドを買って、で、それでお仕事するようになったそうなんですけど、もう本当に予約がもうすでにいっぱいで、もうそれをこなしていくので、もうずっとね、何ヶ月も何ヶ月も仕事しっぱなしで、もう止まらなかったそうなんですけど、でも自分にとっては自分がロミロミセラピスト、っていう風な、もちろんその前に彼女はやっぱりこうアーティストであって、こうペインターなんですけど、でもマッサージのヒーリングを皆さんにこう与えるっていうことで、すごく自分がナチュラルな気持ちになれるし、すごく自分が癒されるっていうふうにおっしゃってるんですよね。だからなんかすごく好きなことでもあるし、ニューヨークとかいるときはすごくなんかこうやっぱり忙しくて、こうマインドがいつもこうアクティブな感じだったんですけども、今はね、ちょっとヨガとか瞑想とか流行ってるから違いますけれども、でもこういってこうマッサージとかロミロミに関わることで、自分がこうゆっくりこう止まってこう呼吸とかに意識を向けたり、なんかそういうことに自分も向き合うことができるから、自分にとってもすごくヒーリング作用があるので、すごい好きなことなんですけれどもねっておっしゃってます。ね、本当にこのサラさんは本当にだからこういうロミロミもやっていれば、あとダンスの方もね、やっていて、で、実はカンヌ国際映画祭で賞も受賞しているぐらいの、方なんですけど、but not only the Lomi therapy, not only that, you do, so many things, and you're also a dancer too, and then you won you won like your short video that feature you as a Pele like won the award, right? At the 2020 Cannes Film Festival. Can you tell me about that?
So those are two separate things. The video was part of an entry to the Cannes Film Festival. So I was dancing. I was not Pele in that. So Pele is dancing for
the dance.
Yeah. So the video was a little project that we did. And I was the character. The story is a very short story. And the whole film had to be shot on straight 8 film, which is kind of like the old-fashioned style of film. It's all manual. There was no editing you could do. You couldn't even edit the audio. You had to send it all to Cannes. They would develop it, and what you shot was what it was. So and I wasn't shooting. My partner was shooting, and so the story had to do with this hula doll.
I saw it.
Okay.
Yeah, and then you turned it into
hula doll, and I'm the hula doll that comes to life.
Yes. That was a clever idea, though.
Yeah. So one of their friends had wrote this script, and we put it together. I'm not expecting to be one of the winners, but it was selected. They loved the story, and that was right before COVID. Had it not been for COVID, we would have gone to Cannes and got to go to France. But COVID happened really, I think the month that the film was sent over there, it happened. And so, but it was fun still.
Yeah. But how is it like being portrayed as Pele? Like, is that a big pressure? Or for you, what was?
For this project of Iona, it's actually, the costume is still being built. So the director asked me if I would portray this character for the new series, the Goddess performance, which I think will be coming out in 2022, maybe in the fall of 2022. It'll debut somewhere on the island. And yeah, it's definitely it's a lot to embody.
Yeah,
I still haven't fully grasped the whole way of that, but it's been wonderful to be there. I also work with them in the costume shop. So every Tuesday I go, and the costume of Pele is being built, and it's beautiful. I'll send you a picture once it's completed. It'll be a while.
Yeah.
And I'm helping with some of the other costumes. But yeah, Pele is a magnificent and powerful entity that from a young age growing up here, you hear about Pele, you kind of fear her, but very much respect her.
Yes.
And she's very real.
Right.
So it's funny, for some reason, a few friends would call me Pele, like jokingly, because maybe because my hair, or because so when she asked me, I thought, that's so funny that these people were calling me that before. But no, it's a huge honor to be asked that, and it is a lot to live up to. So
that's something that's hopefully starting in 2022, you said, like next year. I see. Okay. ね、彼女はもう本当ダンサーとしてもね、なんか活躍をしているので、アイオナコンテンポラリーダンスシアターっていうのがあるんですけど、そこで多分来年からスタートするんですが、女神様のね、ショーみたいなのがあるということで、それでペレの役をやるんですね。でペレって言ってやっぱハワイで育っていると、もう本当にもうものすごい存在なので、もう火山のね、もうやっぱり火の神様っていうか女神様だったりとかするので、やっぱりこうちっちゃいながらもすごくこうリスペクトして育ってくるみたいなね、存在なんですけど、だからそのペレに選ばれたっていうことはやっぱりすごくものすごく光栄だし、すごく彼女のことを尊敬、彼女もやっぱりしていますし、で今コスチューム合わせとかいろいろやっているんですけれども、すごくね、光栄なことなんでっていうふうにおっしゃってますが、あと、ペレの役柄で、ペレの役柄っていうか、そういうダンサーの役柄として、なんかこう、映画、ショートビデオにも彼女は出たことがあって、で、これがカンヌ国際映画祭で賞を受賞してるんですね。でも、もう本当にバーってストレートに撮った、ビデオ、本当に短いビデオなんですけど、このビデオの内容っていうのが、フラのこう動く、人形をよくお店に ABC ストアとかに売ってますけど、あれがなぜか男の子が持っているんですけど、それが実際のフラダンスに、人間のフラダンサーに変わるっていう、なんかちょっと面白い話で、すごい短いビデオなんですけど、それを彼女のパートナーが撮ったものをカンヌの国際映画祭でこう エントリーしたら、それが本当に入賞してしまったということで、コロナがなければね、本当にこのカンヌ国際映画祭にもゲストとしてね、行こうかなと思ってたらしいんですけど、今回は行けなかったということで、なんかそういうだからペレの神様とつながったりとか、こういうなんかスピリチュアルパワーのものすごい存在と彼女ってなんかコネクションとかもね、もしかしたらあるのかもしれないですけれどもね。でも本当にいろんなことをいろんな活動をされている彼女なので、一番自分らしいライフワークっていうと、どれなんですかね。So, you do so many different things, but then what resonates you most? Like what like comes so naturally to you that you feel like this is like my life work or my mission? Like, do you have anything like that? Out of all the things you do?
Out of all the things I do, the Lomi Lomi is definitely the thing that feels like part of my life work. And to bring a sense of peace in the space, it might not always come out through Lomi Lomi. That might not always be my life path through that medium, but that purpose is there. It could be through writing, through many different things. But when doing Lomi Lomi, it's the most direct because it is meant to be a space of healing, of peace. So yeah, that's something that it just feels like really a calling to keep doing.
Yeah. What about painting?
Painting is something, it's still challenging for me because of the darkness that I faced when doing it.
Yeah.
I still face that sometimes when I'm painting. So it's something I love, and it's recently, maybe in the past couple of years, I've taken painting more as an act of discovery and playfulness rather than trying to do these really serious oil painting, like classical style.
Yeah.
And that has been just more joyful. So in the painting, my task really has in this time is to do it joyfully. And that could look a little different than what it was before.
Right. Do you think you would eventually go back to that?
I think I will. Yeah. I do see that actually coming, that there will be more of that, and I will.
ね、ということで、いろんなことをね、やっているサラさんなんですけど、一番自分のライフワークみたいなものって何ですかってお伺いしたら、多分ロミロミだと思うっていうことなんですね。でやっぱりロミロミやってる時の喜びだとか、あと平和な感覚だとか、なんか目的だとかっていうのが自分にすごくやっぱりダイレクトに伝わってくるものなので、ライフワークとしてはロミロミなんじゃないかなっていうふうに思ってるそうなんです。でもそもそも彼女はね、やっぱり絵の学校に行ったりとか、やっぱり絵画の勉強をしていたので、そういう絵はどうなんですかってお伺いしたら、ただそのイタリアに行った時にそうやって絵をね、必死に勉強してストイックにやっていたことで、なんかすごく自分がすごい暗い、ところに行ってしまったので、なんかそういうなんていうか、トラウマじゃないですけど、なんかそういう気持ちが出てきたりっていうのもするので、なかなかまだね、完璧にこのペインティングだけやっていくっていうふうには思えないんですけれども、もっと楽しくね、絵を描こうっていうふうに今は意識しているそうです。なんかちょっと遊び感覚でなんか自分を見つけるみたいな感じでやっていて、最終的にはその絵を描くっていうことに戻っていくんじゃないかなっていうふうにはおっしゃっていますけれどもね。はい、今最後にね、特別に今なんかやっているプロジェクトとかゴールとか何かあるのか聞いてみたいんですが、Well, last of all, are you working on like any specific goals or like project right now? Or
I wouldn't say anything specific in terms of a project. Goals. I have ongoing goals, so those are there to really to write more. My focus has also been on writing recently, and so I have a goal or a vision to do more interview style writing for businesses and nonprofits. That is something I do for Still and Moving Center,
right?
And to maybe expand that to something global that I can share these stories, and that's something I really enjoy, is sharing stories that can inspire other people.
Right.
When we do this for Still and Moving every month for the director's letter, it's just so incredible, the stories that you find from people who have started just from one idea of seeing where help is needed to creating a whole nonprofit for it.
So what if people ask you, what do you do? How would you say?
It's so hard.
Isn't it? Isn't it?
I don't really know how. And it's funny because I always feel like a pressure to fit into some kind of understandable definition or box. And I just wish that like you can be everything, not be everything. I mean, there's a practical thing. You can't master everything. So in that sense, you want to do one thing to master it, but if it's not the time and you're doing a lot, enjoy it. So
right.
But if someone asks, I mean, maybe I'll just say one thing and make it simple.
I know. Yeah, I struggle with the same thing because I tend to do a lot of different things too. And then when people ask you, what do you do? It's like, I don't know what to say. Yeah.
Well,
yeah. Right. Yeah. But maybe for you, because like, your painting was the first, thing that you started, and maybe, maybe, you will eventually go back to that. Who knows? But yeah. Yeah. はいね、ということで、なんかこのゴールとかっていうのは、プロジェクトっていうのは特別あれなんですけど、今常にいろんなことをね、彼女やってるので、ゴールといえば、なんかもっといろんなことをやっぱり執筆活動というか、そういうのをやっていきたいというふうに思ってるそうです。彼女はStill and Moving Centerで、ディレクターのルネーのニュースレターのニュースレターを書いたりとかする仕事をされてるんですけれども、すごく毎回いろんな人とインタビューをして、もう本当にいろんなお話が聞けて、なんか本当にすごいなって思うので、これをもっともっと世界に伝えていきたいというふうに思っているし、なんかそういうことをもっとね、人に何かを伝える喜びみたいなのをもっと自分の中で見つけていきたいというふうに思ってるんですけど、本当にいろんなことをやってるので、人に何のお仕事されてるんですかって言われた時にやっぱりすごい説明するのが難しいということで、私もちょっと似たところがあるんですけど、だからなんかそういうなんかボックスの中で私はこれですとかそういうのじゃなくて、もっといろんなことやっててもいいっていう風な、なんか分かりやすい、それでもいい世の中になっていくといいなみたいなこともおっしゃってますけれどもね。はい。ということで、今日は、サラ・ホーチズさんにこのワークショップについて、そして彼女のね、今までの生い立ちだとかについてもいろいろとお話を伺いました。Well, Sarah, thank you so much. And I'm so looking forward to this creative workshop, Artist Way. And so it's starting on December 11th, right? Do we need anything to prepare? Do we need just pen and
need
paper?
A pen. Yeah, some kind of notebook that you'll enjoy writing in. And the Artist Way book. So the Julia Cameron book.
Okay.
Those three things.
Okay. So we need to buy those books.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. You need to buy the book. Yeah, you want to have it. It's going to give you a much better direction.
Yeah.
And you can get more details with that. I'm not going to put everything that she writes in it on the chat. So definitely get the book. If you can't, then you can't. But get it if you can.
Do we need like a canvas or like anything to draw? Nothing like that?
No, just the notebook. Some people might end up doing a little drawing part of their page. It's fine, but it can be in that one notebook. You can also choose the size of your notebook because it says 3 pages. If you know you are going to have a hard time filling 3 large pages, you might get a smaller notebook. It's okay.
Yeah, so, tiny little one. Okay. Yeah, like a flip card. Yeah, okay. はい。ということで、こちらのね、ワークショップには何が必要ですかって聞いたんですけど、そしたら本当にノートとペンだけでいいそうです。それで、アーティストウェイの本はね、買っていただかないと、多分それ、本にもすごく細かいことが書いてありますので、それも必要になってくると思うので、ぜひ本も買ってくださいということなんですね。で、1日に3ページ、自分で日記というか、自分の気持ちを書いていくわけなんですけど、だからそのノートのサイズも大きくても小さくても全然いいので、自分の書くボリュームって人によって違うと思いますので、好きなサイズのを用意してくださいということです。はい。ということで、このね、サラさんのアーティストウェイのね、ワークショップやったら、私たちもいろんなね、自己表現ができるようになるかもしれないので、本当にこれ無料のね、ワークショップなので、もうぜひぜひ皆さんも参加していただきたいと思います。And it's free of charge too, right? Like,
Correct.
so,
yeah. Free workshop.
Yeah, free workshop.
Curious, just come try it.
いやー、本当にちょっと興味があったら、本当ぜひね、皆さん参加してくださいということです。で、来年に向けてね、こう自分の、新しい自分を見つけていくっていうのでもすごくいいんじゃないでしょうかね。はい。ということで、今日はサラさんをゲストにお迎えしてお送りしました。Well, thank you so much, Sara, for talking to me, and thank you for sharing your wisdom. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Mahalo.